Welcome, listeners, to Embracing Power and Potential, your go-to podcast where we travel through the realms of personal growth, mindset mastery, and fear-conquering strategies to help achieve your greatest desires. I'm your host, Portia, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this transformative experience. If you're ready to unleash your authentic power and elevate your life, you're in the right place. Join me and our special guests as we embark on conversations that will broaden your horizons and enrich your journey. So, sit back and immerse yourself in these unmatched discussions. It's time to expand your mind and your life. Hello to my beautiful community. Hope you have all had an amazing week. Welcome to all my returning listeners. And if you're new here, welcome to the Embracing Power and Potential family. If you haven't, definitely go and catch up on the last couple of episodes. I posted a recent episode of 10 things that I'm embarrassed to admit. So I think that's always a good reminder for people to listen to know that it's okay not to be perfect. That's just my little weekly recommendation. And if you do resonate with anything that I've said in any of my episodes, please reach out to me because I love to connect with my audience. And I know a few of you have actually reached recently, which I'm loving. And I've planned another guest to be on sometime soon, which is very exciting. But our community is really growing and I'm loving it. So yeah, that's just a little update from me. So let's get into today's episode. I love this episode because it's been a big part of my life and my journey so far. And I'm going to be talking about 7 lessons that I've learned in love and toxic relationships. So I'm hoping through these points that you may be able to resonate with some of them or maybe have a little light bulb moment of something that you may be currently working through with yourself or in a relationship. So I've been in pretty well long-term relationships since I was from the age of about 15, 16. And through this time, I've learned some of my biggest truths through navigating love, loss, and learning to choose myself. So I have 7 lessons here today that I'm going to share from my own experiences. And if you do resonate with any of these, please reach out and let me know because I love to hear your stories. Number 1, self-love is sacred. This was probably the biggest lesson that I learned throughout my whole just life experience in general. And probably the most important thing that I've learned is self-love. I can't even stress enough how important it is. And the way that you treat yourself sets the tone for how others treat you. When you hold your worth as non-negotiable, everything changes. And that is so true for my life and my experience. So for some context, if you've been a previous listener, you would know that I moved to Melbourne when I was only 19 with my ex-partner. And I was in a horrible, narcissistic, abusive relationship. And through that time, my self-worth was pretty well non-existent. I was already in a low quality state of my life before this relationship. Just my habits and life in general wasn't great. That definitely played into how I believed about myself and my self worth. But then the relationship just took it to another level through cheating and just even verbal put downs is something that I really had to work through, feeling like I wasn't good enough, like I was disgusting, or, my looks weren't up to scratch. All of this, all of these factors really played a part into how low my self worth was. And I had no other choice but to flip the script and change my story. Because I remember when I would look in the mirror, it was it was actually hard for me to look in the mirror at one point because I felt worthless and disgusting. And it's so sad that I'm even, I guess, saying that out loud. And I send so much love to that version of myself that was hurting. And I had no other choice. So one day I was scrolling on TikTok actually. I do remember it quite clearly. And if you know, Hot High Priestess popped up on my For You page. And she was talking about putting yourself on a pedestal. So now that's something that I use all the time. And I started really doing some inner self worth work. And that inner work is what made me remember who the fuck I am and how powerful I am and how much value I bring to my relationships and to the world around me. And I had forgotten just how, I guess, amazing I am. So I've started to put myself on a pedestal and realizing that I am everything and I am enough. And that is something that I used to say to myself in the mirror all the time. And mirror work is a very good way to build that self love with yourself. Just simple affirmations every day in the mirror. One thing that I do is I say, I love you to myself in the mirror. And at first, it feels weird because at that point, I didn't really love myself. But over time, with consistency, now I can confidently say that I do. And I know my worth now, but it took a lot of journaling and affirmations and visualizations and meditations to overcome these limiting beliefs that I had. And I noticed that when I started to love myself again, the dynamic of my relationship changed. And this person was horrible to me on most days. I'm honestly shocked that I stayed the length that I did. However, when I started to project this energy out that I am valuable, then he actually started to be nicer to me and the whole energy shifted and he started like trying to be affectionate with me again. And it was because of my energy and the way that I felt and believed about myself. Point one. So, my first lesson is self love is sacred. Number two, people pleasing breeds resentment. You don't owe anyone your silence or your self sacrifice. And this is something I really had to navigate through because I was a hard people pleaser. I mean, to the max. I would put myself last every single time without fail to make sure that my partner and his needs were met, mostly so there wasn't causing arguments. So at the time, especially in Melbourne, it was more of a self-protection mechanism to people please and to make sure that everything was right so I would be safe. But now I have really built up the courage and the strength to say no or to speak up when I feel it's needed because I wouldn't before. And I was young and in another state all alone at that point, and even in relationships previous, I was even younger and my boyfriends were always a little bit older. So I felt like they knew more and, I would have to do everything for them. And in Melbourne, I'd become the perfect housewife and I did everything. I made him breakfast in bed every day, which was absolutely ridiculous because now I know my worth. It should be the other way around, or at least an equal exchange. And by the end of it, because you are giving yourself so much to your partner, or even in friendships or any relationship in your life, you end up being depleted because we can't pour from an empty cup. And that's what I was trying to do. I was not recharging and not doing anything for myself to make me feel good and to recharge my batteries, and just still trying to give and give and give. And by the end of it, I resented him, my partner, ex-partner, so much because I did everything and he did nothing, is what I felt. And it was kind of true. But people pleasing always ends up being in resentment. So always choose authenticity over approval. And sometimes it is hard, for sure. Unlearning to people please. And this comes from childhood. We are conditioned sometimes, if you can relate, to people please. And it's a protective mechanism to keep the peace in your life and in your family relationships, stemming down from childhood. And then this plays out in your different relationships as you get older. So doing that inner work and remembering that you have the power is so important, because people pleasing ends up leading to burnout. And something that I've learned is saying yes when you actually mean no or don't want to doesn't make you kind. It ends up making you exhausted. Constantly prioritizing others over yourself only leaves you feeling disconnected from your own needs. And remember that real love includes you too. As I said before, it should be an equal exchange between you and your partner. That is healthy. Point 3. Relationships have seasons. This is a hard pill to swallow, but not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever. I believe, this is just a theory that I've sort of come to, and it's, I guess, something that keeps me going, is that you meet different people for different seasons of your life. And they come to you through different phases because they are either going to reflect something back to you that you need to learn about yourself, and some people just come into your life to help you grow to your next level so you don't stay at your current one. But every relationship comes into your life at a specific time for a specific reason. And sometimes you may outgrow that version of yourself. Therefore, you outgrow that relationship. And that doesn't always have to be the case. If you are on a big personal development journey, which we all are in a way, we're all evolving and growing constantly. or trying to. Sometimes your partner may be on that same level and growing with you, and that's why you may go through different versions of yourself with one person. And I don't know if you've heard, but I've seen something that says if you are with a long-term partner, you see them in like 100 different lifetimes, because there's so many death and rebirth that go on through one's life, up leveling to different versions of yourself, from teenagers to adult life to being parents. There's so many different versions that we will experience in this one lifetime. And sometimes it's not supposed to be that one person for every season. You evolve and you grow, and the people in your life will match that frequency that you are moving into for your next phase. So that's just an interesting theory that I believe. And I hope that one day I will find my person that I will grow with and evolve with and, meet new levels with. But at the moment, from my experience, every relationship has just moved me to a new level and a new version of myself. When I was 16 in a relationship for about 2.5 years, I came out of that in a totally as a different person, but I still definitely needed to learn some lessons from that person was supposed to teach me. And that's why I ended up getting with my ex, I believe, because that was like a repeated cycle. I saw the exact same patterns, just in a new person. So this time I actually learnt the lessons that the universe was trying to teach me. So when I left that relationship last year, I was a totally different version of myself. And I do thank that person or all my relationships for helping me grow and evolve. So that is point 3. Relationships have seasons, and that's okay. Number 4, people are mirrors. What you love or you can't stand in someone is reflecting something within yourself. Everything that you see and everything that triggers you from your external world is a reflection of how you feel inside. Every relationship is a lesson if you're willing to look deeper into the why and into what is this person trying to teach me. So, as an example, say you feel jealous or insecure from your partner, or maybe you're jealous of their confidence. This might reflect a part of you that feels unseen, unrestricted, or insecure. It's not always about what they're actually doing. It's showing you what needs healing inside yourself. And another example, if you feel like you are constantly needing that reassurance from your partner, from words of affirmation or, just saying that you are good enough, this mirrors an internal wound where you don't yet feel enough without that external approval. Now, this doesn't mean that the other person is innocent or right, but when something really does trigger you, it's an invitation to ask yourself, what part of me needs attention, healing, or boundaries? Because that's the mirror, and it's showing you where you need to heal. And so many wounds and triggers would come up for me with my ex, even down to feeling like wanting to check their phone and all of that, because I didn't feel secure and I wasn't feeling like I was enough. But that all stopped. Those urges stopped when I put myself on that pedestal and remembered that I am the prize. So I hope this is a reminder for anyone out there who feels like they aren't good enough, that you are, you just haven't found someone who realizes your worth yet. And you know what? A lot of the reason why these people treat their partners badly is because they are dealing with their own shit inside. My ex-partner was a horrible boyfriend to me at times, and it was only because of the internal war that he was having with himself and all the insecurities he had about himself and all of the traumas that he had from his childhood and things that he went through, then projected into me and to our life through different situations. Like, I know family was a big trigger for him when I would be close, because I'm very close with my family, and when I would talk to them all the time on FaceTime and everything, that would be a trigger for him. And that's when he would be mean to me after, because he didn't have that connection within his family. So it's definitely not about you. It's usually about them and what they're dealing with. Ever feel like you're meant for more, but something keeps holding you back? Maybe you've read the books, set the goals, but deep down, doubt still creeps in. It's not just about working harder, it's about rewriting your mindset for success. I help ambitious young people break past limiting beliefs, step into their power, and create the life they know they are meant for. If you're ready to stop playing small and start living big, book in your free discovery call with me today. My website will be linked in the show notes, or you can find me in my Instagram bio. Embracing Power and Potential Coaching Services. A vision to empower 10,000 young people to create a life they truly desire. Point 5. Your energy shapes the relationship. Now, this is something that I practiced a lot in Melbourne. I hadn't in my previous relationships beforehand, because I guess I didn't really know about the energy work and how powerful it is to live with intention with our energy. So the way that you show up energetically, whether you're grounded or reactive or needy, determines so much of the connection's dynamic. I remember sometimes when I would be arguing with my ex, or not even arguing, I could just feel the energy when I would walk in from uni in the room, you can feel that negative, angry energy sort of thing. So I used to feed into that, and then I would be down in my low energy mood, and then we'd both be moody, and nobody gets anywhere with that. There is no progress made whatsoever when you just match the other person's energy. So what I did when I started to really learn about this inner work was I took the opportunity to change my energy. I would literally walk out the room or walk out the house and go and take some deep breaths and literally just say out loud, I am choosing to change my energy. And no shit, I would walk back in the room and it was completely different. That eeriness was gone, because your energy vibrates outwards. So what you put out to the universe comes back to you. Remember, like attracts like. So that better energy that I was putting out then vibrates through the household, and it comes back to you through your partner's actions or non-actions, by just not arguing or not wanting to be in a bad mood around you. I literally used to see this happen instantly. So you really do have the power to control your life when you can control your mind. Number 6, boundaries are love in action. Boundaries are so important in relationships. And boundaries is just having standards. And having standards is never too much. It protects your peace and it teaches other people how to love you better. For example, if you have non-negotiables in your relationship, that is showing your other person that you know your worth and that you will not settle for anything less. And this is something that was very challenging for me at the start. And I really had to work through my people-pleasing tendencies to not feel guilty when putting boundaries in place in my life. And not even just for romantic relationships, but all my relationships. Family, friends, romantic, everything. Because otherwise you just let people walk all over you. And you can't fill from an empty cup, like I said before. So having boundaries protects your peace and it puts you as your first priority. So non-negotiables in a relationship, they can be anything you want, because at the end of the day, it's your life and you get to choose whatever sort of partner that you want, whatever standards that you are going to have in your life. But some examples are mutual respect. So I will never stay in a relationship where I am disrespected ever again. If I'm spoken down to or even dismissed, I will not accept that in my life anymore, because I had put up with that for way too long, over 5 years through different relationships, especially the last one. And that's where I'm referencing most of my examples to in this episode, because obviously it was the most recent in my life, but it was a big part of my life, just being in a completely different state. And yeah, it was definitely an experience. Honesty, another non-negotiable. Consistent effort. Raising the bar from just the bare minimum. My non-negotiables are flowers weekly, because I deserve them. And it's not a hard gesture, and really that is the bare minimum. But you don't see it these days, so it's now nearly praised when you get a girl flowers, which is wild to me. But I would appreciate flowers weekly. That would be a non-negotiable. And things like aligned values, be able to emotionally regulate yourself so you're not having these heated arguments or being yelled at and having to walk on eggshells, because that is really unhealthy for yourself and your nervous system. And this is when stress happens and your cortisol, which is the stress hormone, is so high that then you end up having like health problems. For example, your skin can start breaking out, which mine did, because I was in a state of constant stress. You can form unhealthy eating habits, struggle to sleep, and the list goes on. I actually may make a whole episode on nervous system regulation soon, because it's something that I have really been diving deep into lately. A little tangent there. So that is number 6. Your boundaries are just love in action. And then lucky last, number 7. If you feel small, that's not your person. If you cannot fully be yourself, loud, soft, silly, or deep, that connection is shrinking your light. And I know because my light was dimmed for a year and a half. And I didn't feel like myself at all. The right love makes you feel safe to expand your personality, not contract in. I felt like going into a little coop sometimes because I would feel nearly like embarrassed to just be myself. And it's so sad that, I know that I went through this, so I know how common that it would be for both men and women to be put down by their partners and made to feel like they have to be less than themselves because your person is supposed to love you for you. And if they do try and dim your light and make fun of you, you know what? It's probably just a projection because they feel so insecure inside themselves. Because a happy and secure person doesn't put other people down because they don't need to. Because they don't need to do anything that's going to make them feel better about themselves, which I know my ex really used to do that to me because it would make him feel better to put me down about something. Or it's quite sad actually, now that I actually say it out loud. The crap that I put up with was wild. But never again. I know my worth now and my standards have risen. And I would never even allow someone to yell at me. If they even raised their voice, I would be out of there so fucking fast. Because I know what I deserve. And I hope you do too. Because you are worth everything. You are made to be loved. You are meant to be adored and doted on and felt like enough as a person. So I hope that these 7 lessons may have triggered something in you to realize something that you have put up with that you no longer want to allow in your life. And if you do have any stories or examples or anything that sparked something in you today from this episode, please let me know because I would love to connect and, have deep conversations about different experiences that you have had. And if you have any other topics that you want me to talk about on the podcast, I'm always open to new topics. So I just want to finish by saying if you have ever questioned your standards, silenced your truth, or stayed too long in a space where you weren't celebrated, I hope that this episode is a little reminder of your worth and how powerful you are. And it's always the hardest thing to do is leaving. But once you are out, you would never want to look back because the feeling is liberating to finally be out of something and remember who the fuck you are. Love you so much. I hope you have the best episode and I will speak to you in the next week. Please feel free to reach out, of course, and always share this on your Instagram stories, and please press the follow button as it just gets me more listeners and we can keep growing this community. Love you guys. Speak soon. Bye.